So, one of my clients right now is actually in the middle of a pretty serious medical crisis, and she's bouncing between doctor's appointments and ER visits, and she's getting new prescriptions, and they're having scary side effects. And she keeps texting me, pretty desperate to know what herbs might help her. What can I take for this pain? What can I do for these new headaches? I'm having migraines now. What can I take for all this stress? And I do have a lot of ideas for her, but the truth is that when you meet herbs for the first time in the middle of a crisis, they're almost never going to work the way that you want them to. And this type of scenario actually happens a lot. Now, in these moments, your brain is in survival mode and it feels like there's this clock that is ticking faster and faster. And then you're like adding random tinctures to your Amazon cart and your mind is like filled with all these questions like what herb works for this and how much am I supposed to take? How often is this going to interact with my medications? Now, that stress alone can make it really hard to heal. And that's exactly why I don't think you should start herbal medicine in the middle of a crisis. It's not when you want to be learning how to take herbs or what herbs do or how they feel. The truth is, most people come to herbalism as a last resort when you really need to be using herbs first. Hey, my friends, if you are new here, my name is Kristen. I am an herbalist and I help people learn how to use herbs first instead of as a last resort. And when I say herbs first, I don't mean that you never use pharmaceuticals ever again. I don't mean that you never go to the doctor. What I mean is that herbs are part of your preventative care and they are part of your plan before you are in a crisis. So here's what that looks like. So you go visit your primary care physician for your regular checkup and you get diagnosed with a new condition, something that's been slowly creeping up over time. And your doctor suggests that you take this new medication to bring those numbers down. But you take care of yourself holistically. So you think, let's give it a couple of months. Let me see if I can take care of some things at home. So you go home, you work with some herbs, and then you come back a couple of months later and those numbers have come down and you don't need to take the medication. Or let's say you're going through a big breakup and you're starting to have all of these anxiety and depression symptoms, but you already know what herbs to take to boost the mood and to soothe those symptoms of excess stress. Or maybe you have to take a new medication and it comes with all of these different side effects and the doctor gives you a pill, but you already know exactly what herbs that you can use that will work better and make you feel better. So you don't have to take that extra pill. That's the difference between scrambling in the middle of the night and handling the situation like someone who already knows their plants. And again, this comes up all the time. So a few months ago, my neighbor and my very good friend broke her pinky playing kickball. She went to catch a fly ball. The ball hit her in the hand. She did get the out, but she also needed surgery and a couple of pins in her pinky. And her recovery was pretty long and it was really uncomfortable for her. Now, we have been friends for a long time and I have given her herbs before, but she didn't really think about herbs or other options until she was already really stressing about this issue. She was on these painkillers that made her feel really drowsy and unable to focus at work, and the pain was so intense that she could barely sleep. So she tried to stop taking them and take ibuprofen instead, and ibuprofen was just tearing up her stomach. Now, at that point, herbs can still help, and I did give her a bunch of options, but most of them she didn't even touch. And we did talk about this afterwards, and we came to the realization that when you are in crisis, when you're in that much pain and that much discomfort, it's really difficult to slow down and trust that these herbs are going to work. And belief and buy-in is actually incredibly important for any intervention, whether it's medical or more natural, to work. So the results, the pain stayed, the swelling dragged on, and she really missed that chance to use herbs to aid in her recovery. And this doesn't just happen with injuries. I have another client who was on acid reflux medication for years. And if you know much about PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, they do cause a lot of downstream effects like bloating and SIBO. And so she decided to quit them cold turkey. And of course, she messaged me in a panic, what's an herbal alternative that I can start tonight? it. And so I said, let's try marshmallow root. It does work really nice to soothe any of that inflammation that comes with acid reflux. But the thing about herbs is that you can't just take an herb. You have to make other changes elsewhere, right? That is why it's holistic. And so she wasn't able to make any other changes in her diet. And because of that, she worked with the marshmallow for a couple of days. She kept eating the same foods that actually cause the acid reflux in the first place. She didn't see those instant magical results that we get with a pill. And so she gave up and went back to her PPIs. And that is what I call green pill thinking, treating herbs like they're just the natural version of a pharmaceutical, expecting them to work instantly and in isolation. And here is the problem with that. If you are only using herbs the same way that you do pharmaceuticals, you are never going to get the deep transformation that they are capable of. Now, you might feel a little bit better. You might start to reduce side effects, but you won't get to the root cause of why you are having your issues, and you are just going to stay in the downward cycle of symptom management. And sometimes, yes, you do need fast symptom relief. After surgery, I would absolutely take a very strong painkiller for a couple of days, but then I would move to herbs that actually support healing without tearing up my stomach or anything that makes me feel groggy the next day. And that works because I already know my herbs. I have them in my apothecary and I understand how to use them. And I'm not saying that you need to know every single herb, but you really should know how herbs work if you want to switch from pharmaceuticals to plant medicine. If you do not have that preparation, you are going to spend a lot of time and money chasing the next herb or the next supplement, hoping that it's going to be the magical remedy, and you're never actually going to get better. And so here is the shift that I want you to make. If you want herbs to actually work for you, you have to become the kind of person who thinks of using herbs first. When your kid wakes up coughing, your brain needs to go to where is the elderberry syrup instead of where do we keep the cough medicine. When you feel that first twinge of heartburn, you grab your bitters and you grab your marshmallow root tea instead of adding antacids to the grocery list. When you feel your body fighting something off, you're grabbing your elderberry tincture instead of waiting to see how bad it gets before you do something. And this shift does not happen by accident. You need to meet the herbs before you need them, because almost guaranteed you are going to need them at some point. And that's actually why I believe people should become herbalists. I know it's this really intense, scary concept, like you're gonna have to start a whole new career, but herbalism is for the home. Herbalism is the people's medicine. It is what we do in community and is what we do within our family structure. You don't need to completely change your career. You just need a willingness to learn, because herbalism is not just a job. It's not just a career. It's really a skill set. And then you don't panic in a crisis because you have the skills to take care of something. You already know what to do, or at least you know where to start. You have the herbs, you have the recipes, and you have the confidence to use them. And then in that crisis scenario where you need an herb that you've never actually worked before, it's going to work so much better because you will know what is possible with plants. So even if you don't have the exact experience with that particular herb, you will still trust that herbs work in general. And one of the most important things in this shift is that you're not just thinking of plants as a green pill. You're not just relying on green pill swaps anymore. You're thinking holistically. You're working with plants in ways that address the root cause of your issues and not just the symptom that you're experiencing. And you cannot learn all of that. You cannot make that shift in the middle of a crisis when you are in survival mode. You actually have to meet those herbs first. And in the next video, I'm going to start to make this really easy for you. And I'm going to walk you through 5 specific herbs that you can start using now. And each one will be a good alternative to a common over-the-counter medicine. They're safe, they're effective, and they are simple enough that you can start using them to build your herbal apothecary now, so you are ready when life throws something at you.